Welcome to the Limitless Being podcast. I am Danielle Sharkey, your host, here to be a guide on this journey of life. This is a space cultivated with the intentions of connection, vulnerability, spirituality, limitless knowledge, explorative conversations, and unlimited potential. I am here to spread love while activating freedom within the collective consciousness. I am a digital nomad, an entrepreneur, and a magnetic spiritual being here to help you activate your power so that you can cultivate the life of your dreams. This container I have created is a safe space for us all to have conversations which lead us toward liberation, acceptance, and radical love of yourself. If you have found this podcast, it is by no accident. You have been guided here because there's a part of you who's ready to stop making excuses and live the life you've imagined. So, join me and my guests here every Thursday. Welcome back, everybody, to Limitless Being podcast. I have a very, very special guest for this episode. Her name is Mercedes. She's an entrepreneur. She's been one of my clients. She works in the digital space in marketing, and also started as a lash artist. And I've had the privilege of seeing her scale a business for years and scale an online community and really just bring so much wealth and prosperity and freedom into her life and also into the lives of others. And I know we have a lot of shared passions. So welcome, Mercedes, to the podcast. So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here as well.
Perfect. Beautiful. So I want to start with a little bit of, per usual, like the come up story, the hero's journey, whatever you want to call it. We all have that starting point in our journey where we're like, I can't live like this anymore. I'm worthy of more. Whatever it was for you, I'd love for you to kind of lay out for the listeners where you started and what created this driving force in you to create this incredible empire for yourself and your family.
So no one really knows this. I don't think I've ever told anyone this, but the exact moment that made me want more was, so I didn't have a lot growing up. We had a lot of hardships, and then I become a teenager. I meet Alex, which is now my husband, and we were together for a while, great connection. We have children. Well, anyways, at the time of this conversation, we had 2 children, and I wasn't super happy. I didn't have a lot going on. I don't remember really exactly where my headspace was. I just knew it wasn't great, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. He was successful, he made great money, but it's I just felt stay at home mom. That's how I felt. I was a mom. Mm-hmm. And I remember just being we have 2 kids, why can't we get engaged, or why can't we get married, or just chasing that because I'm not really happy inside anyways. And I remember him saying well, why would I? You don't have anything planned, you don't know what you want to do with yourself, why would I take that next step? You have to get your ducks in a row. It was almost tough love, but in the moment, it was really hard to hear. And I don't know, I just remember being fuck that. I'm going to do this my way, and I am going to be worth something, and I am going to have something. And that's honestly what really drove me, is just hearing that from the person that I love the most, being well, you don't have your shit together. So why is marriage even a thought in your mind if right. You still have to figure out who you're meant to be? And so years down the road, I'm damn, it really was tough love. But in the moment, obviously, I was so hurt. I was just fuck him, who cares? Can I cuss on here?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah. And okay. I wasn't
Say
sure.
whatever the fuck you want.
Anyways. Okay, good. So anyways, after that, I was kind of just like, whatever I enrolled into school to become a lash artist, I started being a lash artist. And after that, I honestly just had so many different ideas and I grew so quickly to where now, like, I went from being a lash artist to owning a lash salon to training other people to be a lash artist to having online education in the lash industry to having my own product line. And now I feel like I've broadened a little bit to where I'm helping more than just lash artists. Like I have realtors that I help. I have hairstylists that I help. So
Wow.
I feel like I feel like it just gave me like a really great skill to like learn marketing, to learn how to run an online business, e-commerce, automations, because as you know, I have a family, I have 5 children. So I like to work smarter, not harder. And I try to get as much done as possible without having to like spend so much time doing it, which is why I really love automation. So I didn't know how to do that, but I learned how to do it. And now that's one of the skills that I have and I teach other people. So I feel like me just starting with lash artists, like it just brought all of these different skills that I had to learn and develop. So it's worked out great. So that's kind of like where it all started for me.
Wow. Yeah, that's so beautiful. I didn't know that. I had seen some of your posts around, like where you started out with your two kids and you didn't have any income and you were just kind of like, what the fuck, but sometimes we need to hear it from somebody that we love and we look up to. And like you said, it really can be kind of like a blow to the chest, but also that's just the ego, right? Like our ego is like, ouch, that hurt. But truly, if we step up to the plate and we take that energy in and we act on it like you did, you can create anything. And just to confirm, you don't have a college degree, right? Like you did all of this yourself, taught yourself all of this, taught yourself all of these skills. And now you're, making a bunch of money, and helping other people make a bunch of money. And that's just also to show like, you don't need to go to college, to spend 4 years, to get a master's degree. This reminds me of one of my favorite entrepreneurs too, Russell Brunson. I'm looking at his book right now. He dropped out of college. He started entrepreneurship by making a potato gun. And now he charges people $1 million to $20 million a year to work with him. And it's like very similar path that you have of like, I don't need these things. I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to do it myself and I'm going to be successful no matter what. What made you get into the lash industry? I'm curious why that was your choice when you started out.
So I was like obsessed with lash extensions ever since I turned 18. So I worked at Twin Peaks, which is kind of like a restaurant, really dark energy, but
I know the restaurant.
Anyways, after I started working, yeah. So they're like, oh, like you need to make sure your makeup's done, like your hair needs to be done, like your body needs to be nice. And so I'm 18 years old. I don't really know how to do makeup. The most I wore was like blush and mascara. And so one of the girls there was telling me about lash extensions, and I'm like, oh, like I should get those because, it creates a shadow, or it creates a shadow with the lashes and it looks like you're wearing eyeshadow. And so I'm like, oh, that would be easy for me. Like, I don't know how to put strip lashes on. So I started getting them done. I became obsessed. I'm like, oh my God, I wake up looking great. Like I don't have to do anything. And I would get like great points at work because they would grade us on like our makeup and stuff. So
they would grade you.
Like, this is it. Yeah, you get graded. Like,
ouch.
Your arms are a point, your back, your abs, your legs, your hair, makeup, lipstick, like everything is a grade. And so I remember being like, okay, like this is perfect for me. And like I literally didn't like go with them till like last week. Yeah, last week is when I got them removed. And I actually really like without them. I've had them for so long I like forgot what it was like. But anyways, that's kind of what led me into lash extensions because I saw how often I would get them done. I'm like, oh, like I could literally be on the other side of this and have my clients coming every 2 weeks and making money every 2 weeks. And plus I saw this girl that used to do my lashes and like she drove a nice car, like she built her own schedule. Like to me, that was like the dream. Freedom, money, like you don't have to listen to anyone tell you anything. And so, yeah, she really inspired me. And I'm like, okay, like I'm going to do this. And I remember I wanted to take an online training or an in-person training course with her. And at the time, I think it was like $1,200 with her. And I'm like, there's no way like I can come up with that. And I knew that if I went to school, it's more expensive, but there's financial aid. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it this route. We ended up not learning lashes. There was so many bumps in the road that like when I look back now, it like seems like I like just trying to keep me from becoming a lash artist. But they didn't even teach us lashes in school, like they said. It was like more about like facials and like tanning and stuff like that. Yeah. So I ended up just working at this job that I was like a trainee there. And I went for like a month. There was no pay because I was just training. I went for like a month and they told me like, oh, like, you know, like your skills are not there. So like, you're not going to be able to like work here. So basically I was like kind of fired before I was really hired. And I went home and like, I tell this to people all the time when I used to train them as lash artists, and I'd be like, you know what? Like this story could have easily held me back, and I could have easily been like, oh, you know, like they said, like my skill's not there. So like, I guess I'll try something else. But instead I just tried harder. I focused on it at home when like my 2 babies were sleeping at night.
Wow.
And, you know, my skill grew and grew. Yeah. And it really, I don't know. I just feel like I was really just like so focused on doing something because I heard that voice in the back of my head that's like, well, what are you going to do with yourself? You know, and I'm like, well, what else am I going to do? You know, like I have to make it work. And it worked.
Wow.
So that's kind of what led me into it.
That's beautiful. I love to talk about the beginning stories for sure, the beginning of the story, because it does give somebody something like for most people to relate to that are just starting out, because entrepreneurship is such a bumpy road, can be such a bumpy road. You know, for some people it's easy peasy. It depends. It depends on where you're at in life. It depends on the path that you choose. But it's really important to know, like, number one, most of us that are rebels and like want to do things the way that we want to do them, like you and I and most of the people that I relate to, we're going to create our own path. And you have to know yourself so much that you know that if going to work for anybody else or going to work a 9-to-5 is literally going to suck the soul out of you, you're going to do whatever it takes to make what you desire work, like to make what you desire successful. But that doesn't mean that there are not roadblocks. It doesn't mean that there's not challenges, and it doesn't mean that we don't start from the ground up, you know? So it's so beautiful, like to reflect on that, and also to just know where you're at now, which if you want to share a little bit more of like where you're at now, you know, what a day looks like for you, the freedom that you've created. I'd love to hear, like, you know, some pieces to that puzzle as well.
Yeah. So for me, honestly, I'm at home all the time. My husband's at home all the time. My kids, they're in private school. We moved 8 hours away.
You just bought your dream home, right? You bought your dream home and like a farm and
yeah. And I don't know. I feel like it's so weird to like say stuff like this because I don't really mean to come off as bragging at all. So if I seem kind of like uncomfortable, that's why.
Okay.
But anyways,
I'm like, celebrate, like, come on.
I know. I just feel like it can sound funny to other people, but truly, like, I do what I want all day. Like, I don't have to like stick to a schedule. That was most important for me anyways. You know, the other things are great to have, but not needed. For me, what I like to focus on is like freedom, like time freedom, like being able, like if I want to go to the beach next week with my kids, I can, you know, without having to worry about, oh, you know, like, how am I going to plan for this? How am I going to have the money for this? How am I going to do this? Like, those are things that were most important for me. And also like not being, you know, late in the morning or not rushing around like a chicken with my head cut off and being like, oh my God, like you're late for this client, or this client's trying to get in, or this, and this. Like, that is just a lot for me. I even got into mentorship in the process of me like switching into online. And I still didn't like it because I felt like I was still taking like so much of my time to like talk to people all day. I didn't get a lot of time for myself and my family and just like to do what I truly wanted to do. So I would say that's like the highlight of my life now, to be honest, is I really have a lot of time freedom. Like there's really nothing that like restricts my time.
Wow. So you got into digital marketing because you saw that this market is, I mean, there's a bunch of wealth and a bunch of opportunity in it. And you saw that you would be able to create more time freedom to be able to have your own schedule, be at home with your family, your husband, like, and what was the process of going from seeing this gap of like where you were at versus what you wanted, and seeing the pathway, which was through digital marketing, through, online courses, etc. What did that gap to bring it all together? Because I remember, what did it look like? Because I remember we had a session a while ago and you were like, I think I'm going to get into online stuff, like online courses and sales and stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah, do it. And you acted on it. The thing about you that I really, really respect about you and that inspires me is that you acted on it right away. You didn't sleep on it. You weren't like, maybe. You're like, no, I'm doing this. I'm actually going to follow through with my actions ASAP. However, I'm also in the process of doing the scaling and the courses and the digital products and all that stuff. And it is definitely I feel like an investment, of course, of your time. And there's like there's a time period where you really got to like put in the work. So I'm curious what that looked like for you and if you had to make any sacrifices in the process. Does that make sense?
So I would say, to be honest, like it kind of happened naturally for me a little bit. It happened naturally. And then I put in a lot of work afterwards when I figured out was what I wanted to focus on. So basically I went from, as I told you, I would do trainings in person and I would teach them how to be a lash artist. Well, I remember having like a thought one day, or maybe someone mentioned it to me. I can't really remember, but I remember having a thought one day of being like, oh, like, I could create an online course to teach people how to do lashes, like a video course, manuals, like all these types of things. So I created one and went really great, sold really amazing. I stopped focusing on it. I didn't really put as much effort into it anymore. And the sales kind of plateaued with that online course. And I started focusing on like product line and my stuff like that. So once I was really successful with the product line, I started getting questions about like, oh, how did you find your vendors? How do you, do your packaging? How do you do your profit and losses? How do you, create a Shopify account? And like all these different things. So I'm like, okay, I get this question so much and like I know it. I could answer it to someone right now. So I'm like, why not go and create an online course of it? And so I did. And that was in December of 2023, maybe November. And then I created an SMS marketing course along with it because I was making so much money in SMS marketing. I'm like, this is like literally a hole in my niche that needs to be filled that no one else is teaching. So I came out with those two courses, SMS marketing and the product line course. Both of those, like I would get so many sales every single day. And just from that alone, that just like told me like, okay, these people are like looking at you for information. So I kind of really just like embodied the role and stepped into it and was like, okay, I'm here to inspire. I'm here to inform. I'm here to educate. And I just started figuring out like more holes that could be filled. And I would just incorporate those into my courses. And that's kind of what Digital Gods is now. It's like a huge course full of all the different things that you could learn. Like it goes over product line, automations, marketing, branding, sales, social media, like everything. So I feel like I kind of just naturally did it with like listening to my audience and like listening to what they wanted, created a course, and then kind of put in more work when it comes to Digital Gods. Like that I'm still working on recording modules. So like that one, I feel like that's when I really just focused all in on it. And during that time is when I made sacrifices, is when I couldn't focus as much on my product line because I'm trying to focus on like recording modules and setting this up and doing like Zoom meetings with the girls inside of the community. So I feel like that was my sacrifice, if anything, is like risking or sacrificing like my sales and my product line to really like be 100% in on digital gods.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's incredible. I think it's so inspiring because I follow, a lot of women right now online that are making 6 figures a month, which that sounds so crazy to so many people. Like, I know it's achievable. I've done a lot of money programming, right? But a lot of people would hear 6 figures a month and be like, you're out of your mind, right? But I'm saying that because this is what is hi.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. This is what is achievable and possible for anybody that, just like you said, is here to inspire and educate and help their communities and help people, right? With that intention. I think that's also really important to note. Like, we do this to help others to increase their wealth, increase what they believe is possible for themselves, and also create freedom for themselves in different ways, right? So, and you also talked about embodying, and that encompasses some manifestation, techniques. That's a huge part of manifesting. And this was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, how did manifesting or visualizing, in addition to the embodiment practices that you were doing, how did that sprinkle into your success as well?
So, okay. So you said, how is like how did I manifest stepping into the role?
Yeah. How did you did you incorporate specific manifestation, like techniques applications to get to where you're at now as well?
I don't know. I mean, I know that I for sure did. Like, I randomly do it like all the time. Like, I'll randomly, like even yesterday, I remember, I don't know what happened. Something happened, and my nephew, he's sitting next to me, and I'm like, yeah. Oh, he's like, are you a multimillionaire? That's what he asked me. And I'm like, I said, no, like, I'm not a multimillionaire. And I caught myself and I said, yet. And then I'm like, well, technically I am, because I'm in the quantum field right now and I just quantum leap. And literally, like, the feeling that I felt over my body, like, I just instantly knew, like, I just manifested it, because like, it's just, I don't know. It's just like an indescribable feeling. I'm sure, obviously, but like, your whole body just feels, it gets floating, and like, that you just manifested whatever like you're thinking about. And like, it used to happen to me all the time, like when I would go driving, and like I would just fall so deep into my thought, and I'd be like, damn, like I would have that same feeling over my body, and I'm like, okay, cool, like it's gonna happen, And like in the shower, same thing, like I'll try to like focus in on it and kind of just like, I don't know, I guess just like imagine myself already having it, like imagine what the air smells like, what I look like, different things. And I feel like when you can tie all of those different emotions to like whatever you're trying to attract, I feel like it becomes more real to you. And I feel like once you believe it, like in your mind, it's going to happen. And I think a lot of times with manifestation, people will just say it like, oh, like I'm successful, but they don't really believe it inside, but they're saying it over and over. And they're like, oh, like it doesn't work. And it's like, because you don't believe it, like I don't want to say it's pointless, but I kind of do feel like that. If you don't really believe it, like you're just talking, like 100%. You have to really hone in on it. And like, even if like it's something that's so far-fetched for you, maybe just like try focusing on like what the air smells like, what your hair looks like, what outfit you're wearing, and I feel like if you think of those things, that will make it more real. And also like imagining the vision of you having it too.
That's so good. Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I think affirmations are absolute bullshit if you don't actually feel them. If you don't feel them or include and involve your emotions in them, they're not going to work. And I'm sure this process for you, as you know, I'm obsessed with working with the subconscious mind to achieve new levels, to achieve new goals, whatever it may be, to manifest your desires, right? And I'm sure for you, going from point A, which you kind of talked about, having 2 kids, just being a stay-at-home mom, to point, I don't know what point you're at, but you're at a really high point. From point A to now, you probably had to work through a lot of like limiting beliefs. And again, the thing that I like about you is like you persevere and you just keep going no matter what. That's a skill that not everybody has, that like level of drive. But I'm curious, because of that, what are some of the biggest limiting beliefs that you feel like you broke through in becoming this level of successful business owner?
So I feel like being in like the lack mindset, like that was just something like I don't want to say born into, but I feel like it is something like I really took on at a young age because I don't know, maybe I heard like conversations about, money or about like not having enough of this or not having enough food or, there just was always like a lack in my childhood. And so I feel like that was probably the hardest thing to break out of once I became an adult and a business owner at that, because I've learned like creating from the lack mindset is always going to lead you back to the lack mindset. But if you can create from a creative standpoint and not really from like an abundance standpoint, but if you can create from like a creative standpoint, just being like authentic, genuine, it's not for money, you're always going to find your way to money. Because I feel like when you're doing that, you're vibrating at such a high frequency because you truly want to help people. You're truly trying to level up. You're honing in on your vision. So I feel like that automatically is raising your vibration to where you're attracting money, you're attracting wealth, you're attracting abundance, you're attracting prosperity and all the things that people in the lack mindset are dreaming of anyways, So I feel like for me, that was like the biggest and probably the hardest struggle was trying to break out of my lack mindset and like truly create just to be creative, and just to help people and share things. And I feel like that obviously that's what my business is now, but I feel like that's probably the biggest like hindering belief that I had to like break through.
Yeah, it's one of and I feel like it's a process, at least for me, it's one of the most common challenges that I see with everybody in working with people. I mean, there's people in my life right now that have everything, and still believe that they don't have enough. And we've talked about it before, and that is how we are conditioned, and that's how we are programmed. I don't care what family you grow up in, for the most part, most of us are conditioned that way. And if it's not by the family, it's by society, because that type of mentality keeps you under control. It keeps you small. It keeps you working for the man, whatever you want to call it, working for the government, working for somebody else, so that you're never, you're always stressed out. You're in survival. And then you create disease, and then you create all these mental health issues. That's where they want us. They want, like, I hate to bring in, the powers that be or whatever, but I really feel like, let's talk about it from a video game standpoint. That is where we are controllable, right? Controllable by the government, whatever you want to call it. And when you're able to kind of break through the mask of that, it takes a while, but when you're able to break through that and see like, holy shit, money is everywhere. Money is circulating all around me. Money is abundant. It's like water. It flows in. It's like the ocean. It flows in just as much as water flows into my life. It's like oxygen. And you can start to see like, oh wait, abundance mindset. I have a house. I have food. I have water. And I have skills. And I have skills that I can give with. And in that, like you said, it increases your vibration if your intention is, I want to give back. I want to help people. I want to help people rise. I want to help people make more money so that they can, you know, their family can be super happy and super healthy, whatever it may be. Then that creates this like circulatory energy of wealth consciousness. And you just become, just to kind of regurgitate your words, you become a magnet to it. It's so fucking magical. So thank you for sharing that. When do you feel like that shifted for you, or what did you have to do to get into that?
Honestly, I don't really remember like when exactly it shifted, but I know like, I don't know. I literally have no clue like when exactly it happened, but I know even recently, like I've been helping my husband because my husband, he is in lack mindset. Well, he struggles with it. I don't like to say he is. But anyways, I'm like trying to help him like get out of it. And I'm like, you know, like even we were talking about going to the gym and he's like, well, you know, I'm nervous to leave the house. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, because every time we leave the house, like we spend so much money. And I'm like, but why are you worried about that? You know, like, I'm like, we don't have to spend money, but even if we do, like, it's going to come back. Like, you know, like, why is that such like a trigger? And so I've been like really working with him lately to like, just with his verbiage and stuff like that, because I feel like with verbiage, and maybe this is what I did, I just don't remember, but I feel like with your verbiage and like your intention, and like even if you have a thought of like lack and you can easily like override it and come, you know, with another thought of like gratitude and abundance, I feel like you can start to reprogram your subconscious to where, yeah, it is something that like you're working at for, you know, 2 to 3 weeks, but after that it happens so naturally you don't even realize anything's different. You just realize like you're not worried about money anymore. Or you're not worried about not having enough of whatever it is that you're chasing. So I feel like lately I've been working on him with helping it. And it is something that I feel like most people are just born into. But I would, if I could give a tip, I'd probably say like, try working on like your verbiage, your thoughts. Even if you do have a bad thought, like don't shoot yourself in the foot, like just get over it, move on, and come in with a newer thought and a positive one that is more abundant and like full of gratitude.
So good. Yeah, that's what a lot of, what's his name? Not Neville Goddard, but Napoleon Hill, his book Think and Grow Rich, it's like from the 30s, but it's still such a good read today. And it talks about essentially like programming your mind to receive money, to receive wealth. And he talks about autosuggestion in that book, which is essentially like suggesting to your subconscious mind when a thought comes in, like, no, almost like the delete button, like we're going to delete that. Let's replace it with something better that's going to open me up to more, to a greater capacity to receive, to more expansion in my money. That's so beautiful to see. Like, I want to talk a little bit about our story, because I remember I was helping you like a couple of years ago to get out of this as well. And now you're like helping your husband, and now you're helping other individuals circulate and create wealth in their life too. But I want to talk a little bit about how we met. You came into my live on TikTok because I do some readings and healings online. Sometimes I'm starting to get more consistent at it now, just to build community. What was that when I was living in Costa Rica? Do you remember?
I think so. I know you were in the middle. I was going to say Middle East. I don't know why that came to mind. But I definitely remember you being out of the country. And yeah. I think you're out of the country for like a week or two.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was in Costa Rica when you first hopped into my live, and I gave her a reading, and I saw like one of your past lives, and it was so cool. It was so beautiful. And then I don't know when we started working together, but you had expressed interest in doing coaching and working through some, you know, subconscious stuff, anxiety, etc. How do you feel like, the reason I bring this up because I do feel like there's a direct correlation with your external world is a direct reflection of your internal world. And I feel like the more inner work you do, the more you can create, the more you can receive as far as manifestations go. So how do you feel like doing inner work like that has affected your ability to create more wealth?
So I feel like it helps a lot. I mean, as I mentioned, I feel like your thoughts and like your intention all creates like your vibrational frequency, which is all what you attract. So I definitely feel like it helped a lot. And I don't know. I don't remember like when I came out of my lack mindset, but I know like when I did, I think it just happened naturally, but I know when I did, like everything leveled up for me. Like my money, my schedule, like everything. I almost like didn't even have to think about being in lack anymore. Um, but yeah, I feel like it helped a lot. Just your mindset, your intention, how you operate. Um, Maybe even just like being kind, sharing with people without always thinking about like, oh, like I really don't have it. Like I have to charge this amount, like maybe just cutting someone a deal when you can. And I feel like things like everything comes back to you, So I feel like just, again, creating to be creative instead of like for lack.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And you're also on the spiritual path. I don't know how you like identify with it or how you would explain it, but I'm curious to also hear a little bit about your spiritual awakening journey, because I've had the honor of being able to like witness this expansion, If you want to share a little bit about your story, walking, this path of going through awakenings in many different ways, but also being a business owner, I would love to hear it. Whatever you feel like sharing.
So to be completely honest, I don't, maybe I do, maybe I just like don't think about it, but I feel like when I do go through like my awakenings, I never associate it with business. Mm-hmm. Like I'm always just like, oh, like personal, like, things that I'm going through. But I don't know. I love talking about spirituality. I love, being around people that are spiritual. I think the vibe's great. I believe in like a lot of stuff, so I try to keep most of it out of business anyways, because like I don't know, I just feel like with business, like it's almost like politics, like it's just something like you want to stay out of. But like I'll talk about crystals sometimes, and like what is it, Ayurvedic medicine, like healing like with foods and herbs and like stuff like that. But for the most part, I'll try to keep out like awakening stuff like out of business. I'm trying to think of like what personal stuff that I went through when it came to awakening. I think right now I'm going through like a really huge awakening, actually. And I guess it kind of is helping towards business without me like bringing it into business. So I feel like right now I'm like going through this huge, like, I don't know. I honestly feel like it's a Saturn return. Like I feel like everything that made sense to me 3 months ago doesn't make sense to me anymore.
I feel
and I don't want it. Like I don't
feel it.
Yeah, yeah, like I don't care to like have it. It's just not my vibe. I want like something completely new. So, and I feel like when I say this out loud to people, like, and they know my business and like the pivot that I just went through, they're like, oh yeah, like it makes so much sense, because I was so focused towards like the lash industry and, helping people build a product line. And I feel like I completely switched and pivoted to like digital products and strictly focusing on teaching people digital products, and it not even being just the lash industry, like it being everywhere, So I feel like it does, what's the word? Like it reflects my business, but I guess without thinking about it, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, nothing makes sense anymore. I want to change in my personal life. And it is reflecting business, because my business did like a whole 180, and like now I feel like I'm truly loving what I do again. And I feel like I'm being able to really like do everything that I want to do without having to like trade so much of my time, which is what I was doing, at the end of last year.
Yeah. That's such a fast pivot for you. And I feel like you do these things so gracefully, like with so much ease. For me, this is what I would call a version of an ego death, right? And I know that's like such a dramatic term. It really just means pieces of who you once were are no longer aligning with who you are becoming, right? So you have to shed, you have to let go of layers, people, aspects of your business, whatever it is. But for you, I feel like you just do it so gracefully. And maybe this is coming out, this may be coming from a place of like, I want it to seem so effortless for myself. Because when I'm going through something like that, I'm like, what is life? Like, what is happening? So I'm curious if you've ever had, because I do feel like entrepreneurship is also like such a deep self-reflection journey. Have you ever had those moments where you're like on the floor, like, do I give up? Or it feels so hard? Or was the pivots for you just really like, I don't know.
No, they're not always. So to be completely honest, I feel like I have a great control over my mind, I guess. Like I say that, and then like I used to battle with intrusive thoughts, but I feel like I have great I don't know the word. Like I'm able to like redirect my thoughts really easily. And maybe it's from battling with intrusive thoughts. Maybe that was the purpose that it served in my life. I don't know. But
emotional stability.
I feel like yeah, and I feel like when I do have those moments. And I feel like when I do, they're honestly not that intense because I'm easily able to be like, fuck that. Like, what are you saying? Like, you can do this shit, you know? And even like, I feel like just my solar plexus even being so strong plays into that too, because instantly I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, yes, you can, you know? And so I feel like it helps a lot in business for sure, because like, it's almost like I really don't, like I can't be shot down, right. You know, like I will get back up, and even if I do get it wrong, like it's fine. Like I'll figure out another way to do it until I do it, if it's something that I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like that helps a lot. Just your mindset and being like really strong. Even like I said, like even if you have a bad thought, it's okay, but just come right after and be like, you know what, like I can do this. Like who says I can't? You know, like people do it all the time.
Yeah, perseverance, and not, that's what I'm really working on this year, is really just letting things, for the most part, just roll off my back, because I am a very sensitive person. I am a very sensitive creature, and I have big feelings, and they have in the past sometimes just kind of like taken me down, and also taken away my motivation and taken away my drive. And I really started to embody, like over the last couple of months, just being like, oh, this didn't work out for me. Okay. This is what I wanted. It didn't work right now. Okay, it's because something bigger is coming. Oh, this is really difficult. Of course it is, because the reward is going to be massive, right? So having that, being able to really just let things roll off of your back and not deter you from the action you need to take in order to make everything real. If you were able to say some things to some entrepreneurs starting out right now, if you were able to, like, let's say it this way, go back in time and give yourself, your baby self, some advice, some words, what would you say?
I feel like it's going to sound cliche, but like if I could really go back in time, I would say like, keep fucking going. Like, it doesn't matter like what comes in your way. It doesn't matter like what feels like the end of the world, or what feels like such a blow to the chest, or what rock becomes in your road. Like, keep fucking going, you know, like no matter what, keep pushing, find the positive in everything. I feel like that helps a lot too, with just like enjoying the journey, is looking at the cup half full instead of half empty. So that's honestly what I would say, is literally just keep going, like no matter what. That's the only way you're ever going to get to your goals anyways. Like you know, like you just pretending that like you want something and trying, you know, once or twice isn't going to get you there. Like you have to put in work. And to some people it may seem effortless, you know, but everything isn't going to be effortless. So you have to keep going no matter what. And remember, social media is a highlight, is basically like a highlight reel. You know, people share the great things about what happened today, or, you know, what they're doing and all these different things, but it's like no one shares. So, well, I feel like it's more more seen now where people will talk about like more real, authentic moments. But a lot of people are not going to talk about like them failing or them losing money on an investment or them doing this and that. Like it's just not talked about. So I feel like, you know, if those things do come up, like just push past it. Like just like every other successful person does, you have to just push past it.
Yeah, the rewards for being an entrepreneur are really, I really feel like being an entrepreneur is the fast road to success. Whatever you deem success to be, you know, like you said, it could be time freedom, which I also have a lot of. It could be making 6 figures a month. It could be making multi-million dollars. It could be buying your family a house, your mother a house, whatever it is. And also knowing that you are inherently worthy. You are inherently deserving of wealth. I think a lot of the aspects of lack consciousness is programmed is we also don't believe that we're worthy. We don't believe that we should wake up in the morning and there's like 5K in sales that happened while we were sleeping, or, you know, that we should be charging thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars to people for our knowledge. But that is really, to get a little woo-woo here, that is really what like the concept of New Earth is finding your desires, finding your motivations, getting clarity on the life that you do want to live, and knowing that no matter what, with determination and with positive forward momentum, you can and will have it, and you are worthy of this unlimited wealth. And that's what your life looks like every day, right? You wake up and you're like, oh, cha-ching. Like, you know, you have these things rolling in constantly because you have automations, because you have these courses, because you are giving also so much value and so much of your heart and soul out to the world that it intrinsically comes back to you. What did it look like? I want to hear about your first, like, I don't know if you can remember maybe the first few months where you started getting sales outside of just booking like one-to-one clients, where you started getting maybe selling your products or selling your digital products, whatever you want to talk about, how that felt and the process leading up to it as well.
I feel like when you just said that, I'm like, I just remember like being in that moment, and I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like being in that moment of like gratitude, even though it happened like so long ago, can also like help you manifest. So maybe that's like another tip to help like manifest, you know, whatever you want. But I remember, so as far as like digital products, I remember creating this ebook. Of course, I had like a lot of questions about like, oh, like, how do you market, and like, you know, all these different things regarding marketing. And I'm like, okay, let me create like a marketing ebook for lash artists. So I create this marketing ebook, and I don't remember how much I made, but it was so much, like thousands of dollars by like 12 p.m. And I'm like, wow, that was my first ever, that was my first ever time like I've ever made that much money from waking up to 12 p.m. And then also it was my first time of it being digital products. But yeah, I would say that was like my first time really being like I remember I went to my parents' house because we were like doing something, and I told my mom, I'm like, oh my God, Mom, like I've never made this much money. Like, and I literally said like, I've never made this much money for like nothing. That's what I said, because I'm like, you know, like I didn't feel like I was doing anything. I had already done everything. Like it was almost just like I'm making sales. And she's like, well, it's not for nothing. Like, you know, you did do something, and like you did this, and like you're helping people with this and this. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, it was like a whole new world for me. And I was like I didn't even focus on it after that, but it was just like a moment of like, damn, like you can really make so much money once you know something. Once you, like, people will pay whatever amount to know knowledge. That's why I think digital products are like so powerful, whether you do online courses, membership programs, you know, ebooks, digital downloads, whatever you want to do, but find a skill and like learn it and know it like the back of your hand, and create something that you can sell over and over and over again. You know, like, I don't know. I just feel like that's like a cheat code, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And the ebook, how much did you say you made the first day? Or what was it?
I don't remember.
What was the amount you just
I
said?
don't remember, to be honest. I don't think I said an amount. I don't remember. I think it was maybe like 4,000, 5,000, something like that. But that was like but it's because I did all these marketing techniques that very first day. And I feel like it helped so much just by 12 p.m. And I had never made that type of money ever before. Like the most I had made, I think, was for a training course, and it was in Vegas. And I don't know, I think maybe I made like $10,000 that week. And that was me doing 2 trainings in Vegas, like back to back. But I was working like all day for like 4 days. With this, I like wasn't doing it. I mean, I was literally out living my life, like at my parents' house, like just talking about it. Like I wasn't doing anything to actually make the money. That's how I felt anyways. But I was just like, this is like a whole new world that like I haven't even dove into yet,
Yeah. Yeah. How much time and energy, or how much time did it take you to build the ebook?
That first ebook, the marketing ebook, I want to say maybe like 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
Like it took around that time. And that was just me putting like everything that I had learned when it come to like marketing, getting clients, social media into this ebook. And I think it was maybe like 30 to 40 pages, somewhere around there. So it wasn't super long. It was something quick to the point where they could understand what they need to do, how to implement it, to see like results.
Wow. What were the marketing techniques that you applied? If you can give us some, because your marketing is incredible. And that's what I'm really working on, because it's just definitely not my expertise and I'm getting there. But I'm curious if you have some tips or some tricks on that for our listeners. What would you recommend?
So what I did whenever I released the marketing ebook, I did a lot of things. So I had like pre-orders going. So pre-orders can like, typically people do pre-orders because you're able to like make more money before the official launch. So that was one thing that I did, was pre-orders. Another thing that I did was creating like a discounted price for pre-orders specifically to drive urgency to get people to order now versus like later once the official launch date's here. Another thing that I did was I said on top of like the discounted price was like that discounted price was only going to be for like 100 people. I think that's what I said. And so like once the 100 people had bought it, the price would return back to original pricing. And so I feel like saying original pricing instead of like the price will increase sounds a lot better, because when you have this community, like the last thing you want to come off as is like money hungry. That's the last thing you want to come off as. So if you can say like it will return to original pricing versus like the price will increase, I don't know. I just feel like it what's the word? Like it falls in line better with like your audience and your community. Like they don't take it as like, oh, I don't want to buy it anymore. Like she's just, after it for money. So I feel like those 3 things helped a lot, because it allowed people to order. Like as soon as it launched, I was getting orders. So I feel like having the pre-order price and then also having the limited quantity, like you can't order this tomorrow for this price. Like it's only for the first 100 people or the first 50 people or whatever. And that's up to you if you want to end it, if you want to actually end it at the 50 people or the 100 people. Like you could keep it going forever, but everyone's trying to get in for that first 100, those first 100 spots, So it's like you could be at like 400 orders, but you're still marketing it as, oh, like I'm only doing this for the first 100 people, like make sure you're getting in, and I feel like it pushes urgency more than anything for your sales now.
Beautiful. I have never heard that before, actually. The saying that it will return to the original price instead of saying like the price will increase. I think that's really important. I also needed to hear that, because we're not like, you and I are in the business of service, of giving back, right? So we want to make sure that it doesn't come off in that way, right? So
yeah,
I just had a question. What was it? Give me a second. I don't know. I forgot it. I forgot it. But I do want to talk about...
Okay. Maybe it'll come back.
Oh, yes, I have it. I found it. If you could recommend, let's say somebody's starting out, they only have like, I don't know, 100, couple thousand followers. They're just starting out. Their community isn't really engaged. Because you have a huge platform. Let's start by saying that. Mm-hmm. How did you start, or what would you recommend when trying to get an engaged community and then trying to get, clients that are hitting the purchase button, even if you don't have that platform yet?
So I would say if you don't have the platform yet, you really have to work on building your community first, because people aren't going to buy someone that they don't trust, or they're not going to buy from someone that they don't trust. So there's a lot of different ways that you can build trust online. I go over this a lot in Digital Gods, but a few of the ways are going to be like sharing snippets of your life, like maybe like what you ate for breakfast this morning, or what your coffee was like, or maybe something like really difficult that you struggled with today, or maybe even just sharing like some snippets of your planner or what your plans are tomorrow, or just like behind the scenes, like allowing them to see a different part of you on like your stories is what I'm talking about, but allowing them to see like a different side of you really allows for people to understand and make that like connection in their mind. Oh, like this is a real person. Like this isn't just like an automated brand page, or this isn't just like an automated business page, or she has this for breakfast. That's the same thing I have. Like it just allows them to trust you, to relate to you, to understand that you're like a real human being, and they can make that human to human connection. So I feel like those are some ways to like build trust. And just showing up like authentically. Like, I don't know, I hear a lot of times people will, come on Instagram and they'll have to go and like block other people that are similar to them. I don't do that because I don't want to cause like any problems, but I hear that people do that a lot because they'll get like creators block where they'll like see all these other things that people are doing and they'll try to incorporate that into their own business, and it doesn't work because obviously like you're not passionate about it, and it's not going to work for you because everyone's different. So I feel like maybe like I would try doing that and just like really focus in on like who you are, who you're helping, what problems do they have, how you can solve their problems. And once you have those things down, you know how to market. Everything should be around that person's problem, and you have the solutions to, whoever your dream audience is. And then you have to focus on reels, the format. How does my caption look? How's my call to action? How are my hooks inside of my reel? Do I grab someone's attention, when they're scrolling across hundreds of others of videos? So those are things that I feel like you have to take in mind when it comes to like social media, is just making sure you're being authentic, making sure you're engaging with your audience, responding to every comment, try to respond to every DM. Even if like someone's like commenting something like, I don't know, like let's say someone comments on my video and says, oh, like what are what's a tip that you would give to someone with social media? I could say like, oh, like making sure like your hooks are great. Like, here's an example, instead of just being like, because I used to be like this in the past. I used to be like, oh no, like if you're not paying, like I'm not going to give you free information. But it's like, yeah, but it's like when you can actually like optimize those situations and give a tip or a hint, imagine all the other people that are going to come across and be like, oh, like, okay, she actually does know something. She's not just someone online that's just like talking a lot. And then they click on the link in your bio, they do more digging. Maybe you have a pop-up active to where you can collect their phone number and, nurture them into a sale. But I feel like responding to comments, even people that are like trying to get free info, just give them small tips. You don't have to give them everything, but just give them small tips, because that's building your community.
Right.
Those people are going to be the ones that end up buying your next product that you come out with because you helped them with something. So they now trust you. They see that you have value, so I feel like that's really the biggest tips I would give. And I feel like they're overlooked a lot, but just like engaging, building your community, share behind the scenes of like your everyday life, and make sure that like whatever you're talking about, whatever you're saying, whatever you look like, whatever like your scenery looks like around you, make sure that it's going to like grab someone's attention.
Yeah. Your aura, as you're talking about this, is literally like, I see like pink and yellow, and it's like expanding because you're excited about it, you know? I can see it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of blocks when people think about social media, and I have felt it in the past for myself. I'm in a very different phase right now, but I think one of those blocks is feeling like, and I've heard this from others as well, and from even my clients, because I help people to align their soul with their soul's purpose, and then they go and create something out of that, right? And so I've heard this from a lot of people, like the block on social media is a lot of it's around being seen, but also it's around feeling like you're putting out so much time and energy, and like you are putting out free resources on social media. You know what I mean? Like you can go to our pages and scroll down for years of free information, free resources, inspiration, whatever it is, and feeling like maybe there's not like reciprocity, if that makes sense. Like it's not coming back. What you're giving out sometimes feels like it's not coming back. Have you ever felt that way before?
Maybe. I would say like maybe when I did my big pivot at the beginning of this year to where I kind of like started forming my content around like other things than just lash artist related. That was probably where I was the most in that spot, because I was like, okay, like, but I knew that I was going to have to go through that. Like, that's just what happens when you really niche down. And that's what I did. I was niching down in another niche. So, whenever you do that, it's like your old niche stops engaging as much because it no longer aligns with them. And then you go through this process of like, you're pushing out this content. Instagram starts pushing it to other people because they're like, okay, like these people don't really care about it anymore. So they're pushing it out to other people to see what they think. And once people start engaging, then Instagram will continue to push it out to people just like that. And it's like, before you know it, you have this entire audience that does care about what you're posting. They do see value in what you're posting, you know, and they are here to learn and to buy and to purchase and all these different things. So I would just say, you know, that spot's inevitable. You know, it's inevitable to go through the rough patch, but you just have to push through it. And then you get to the part to where it's like, it feels more natural and, you know, it feels like you know what you're doing because everything is just working for you at that point.
Yeah, it's almost like the laws of quantum leaping and the universe of like, if you're trying to get to that next level, there's always a crumble that kind of happens before the level up. And I wish somebody told me this like 2 years ago when I completely changed my life, because holy shit. But I always repeat it because it's really important to remember, like when something big, when your desires or your new reality is about to manifest, you go through a shedding and sometimes what feels like a burning of your entire reality. And just like you said, it's inevitable. It's a part of the process. The less like attached you are, the more you just kind of let that process happen, the easier it becomes. And social media, like, of course, my dream is to one day not have to be always on my fucking phone, honestly. Like, that is really the goal. But I do believe it is a step to, and also a portal to so much abundance. Like, to know that you and I have made thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars through social media, it is a ticket to freedom in many ways. What would you tell somebody that's, I mean, did you feel like, I don't want to say insecure, but like, did you have fears that bubbled up when you started to become more present on social media?
I think the only fear like that I honestly had was like evil eye, like just getting like so much like negative energy. And like I don't want to sound bad at all, but I feel like I've attracted negative energy my entire life. Like that's just, I feel like something that like I was used to. So as soon as I, you know, started becoming more seen on social media, it was something that I worried about, because I'm like, I know that I get negative energy. Like I know that people, like I know that I definitely have my genuine supporters, and I definitely have people that genuinely love me and support me. And like I connect with them all the time, but I also have a lot of people that don't really like me, or they pretend to like me. And it's really weird. And just like I feel like social media has like monitoring spirits, you know, like people just sit and watch with like negative energy, and they're like, fuck her, like I hate this bitch, you know, or whatever. And yeah, so I feel like that was something that I even still think about, because I'm like, I need to get like Reikis more often because of social media. Like that's the only thing I feel like I'm really worried about.
Yeah.
But that's hard.
That's definitely a part of it. And also, where your attention goes, energy flows, right? So if that's like a fear in your mind of like, because of what you've experienced, which is normal, right? It's like, it's going to always be there, and you're going to be more aware of it than the other person who doesn't even think about that, right? So it's like this, again, it's the reflection of the subconscious. For me, it was definitely, and I think this still exists in me a little bit. You might be surprised to hear this, but because I'm a Leo, but sometimes like the fear of being seen, like, you know, sometimes I don't feel as pretty. I want to be so real, right? Like sometimes I don't feel as pretty. And then you get into the fucking comparison of like, oh my God, she's making millions, or oh my God, she's got a husband, or oh my God, she's this, whatever. The comparison energy also can be very strong when you get into social media. And I think also being seen and getting your voice to be heard, a lot of us have those limitations in our mind, like our voice doesn't matter, or I'm not as good as her, whatever. And what would you tell somebody that is experiencing something like that, or a fear that you may have as well?
I would say that the only reason that whoever it is that you're comparing yourself to is experiencing what you want is because they're focused on themselves, and they're really honing in on their own visions. And I would say if you truly want that, like I heard this thing too, it was like, oh, if you're jealous of someone, or, you know, if you envy what someone has, it's because you have it in another realm. So it's like that. And I feel like when I heard that too, it kind of, I don't know, I feel like it just allows you to not associate so many negative feelings towards it and be like, oh, hell yes. Like, I can't wait. Like, it's mine in another realm. And I feel like it also just like reprograms your mind to think like, okay, like I can have that shit. I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just thinking about it in like a different standpoint. But I feel like that helps a lot. And I would probably just say like, try to focus on yourself, focus on your own lane. If you have to block other people that are like doing similar work to you, then block them, just so that you can focus on yourself, be authentic, create from like your true creative being, because you're going to attract what you want anyways, as long as you can align with like your values and what you're pushing out, and then find a way to market it on social media. It's going to come back to you. You know, you just have to figure out who exactly you're helping, how you're helping them, what problem they have, and now find a way to tie it into a reel and make sure you have a great caption, and, you know, everything is easy. That there's no confusing part in like the checkout process or the sales process. And I feel like you'll have that, you know, you just have to focus on it.
You're such a good mentor. I love talking to you. I feel like I've learned so much, and I feel inspired. I mean, I've told you this whole time, like how much you inspire me, but I'm just so grateful to just keep, you know, hearing all the information that you have, this wealth of knowledge that you self-taught yourself, right? Did you have a like business mentor, or did you literally research all of this marketing stuff on your own?
So most of it, yes. I will say when it comes to like sales, my husband helped me a lot with that.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know if you knew this, but yeah, he used to work like in a gym, and he oversaw like the sales department. And so he obviously would go to like all these different trainings for sales. And he really taught me like a lot in the beginning when I first started doing sales. Like, he would teach me like all these things that like drive urgency, and that like, you know, fear of missing out, and like all these different things that I feel like really helped me, and I still use them to this day. And I hadn't had any other business mentor besides him, but just recently maybe it was in like March. I think it was like mid-March. I actually did have a call with someone. And she's like a spiritual teacher too, but more like businessy. And I feel like it just felt so aligned. And like she was telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like I think I had gotten a reading like a few weeks before that or something. And the girl told me, like, she was like, oh yeah, like you're going to get like a wealth of knowledge soon. And like, you know, like it's just going to be crazy for you. And then I have this talk with this girl and like everything just seems so aligned. And I'm like, oh my God, like I know this is meant to be, you know? And so that's probably that's the only business mentor I've ever hired. It was for a one-time call. And she did teach me a lot. So she kind of taught me more about like sales funnels, which is something that I didn't really know about. I knew that I needed a sales funnel. I just didn't know how to like create it or what it could be about. And so, she really taught me like the different parts to my funnel, basically, like with my products that I have now, which I feel like helped a lot. But yeah, other than that, it's kind of just been like trial and tribulation, self-taught, research, you know, and just figuring out what works, just listening to my audience. I try to preach that more than anything because everyone's audience is going to be different. Everyone's audience is going to like different verbiage. Everyone's audience is going to relate to different things. So like most of all, you have to like listen to your audience. And then from there, you can take the next step because everyone's audience needs help with different things.
Right.
You know, like I could be a lash educator and then there could be 2 other lash educators next to me, but all of our audiences look to us for different things, you know, because they all need different things. So it's important, I think, to just pay attention to like the questions that you're getting asked. You know, the things that people are telling you, how they're asking, what are the links that are being clicked on the most in your link in bio? You know, that kind of tells you everything you need to know about your audience. And now you can create content that aligns with that audience and the problems that they experience.
That's genius. I just, as you were saying, you know, connecting with the audience, like asking them questions or receiving questions from them, I also saw in my mind like polls on your story, right? So just like re-engaging, I don't know if what you think about this, but just re-engaging and be like, why do you follow me? Like gaining more insight, like what are the, from A to D, what are the primary, you know, issues that you deal with or that you're looking for support in? I think that's really important too. I haven't done that in a long time. So it's also redirecting my focus on getting back with that engagement and speaking to your following as if they are really people that you are here to help, because that's what it is. I think we can get trapped in like the numbers of the digital space and forget like these are actually human beings following us for a reason. Yeah. And the more you get clear on that reason, the more you're going to have ideas and inspiration to create more things to support them. I want to get into a few like more masculine pieces before we close it out, if you're open to it. Talking more about not analytics, systems and automations, and how you learned, what you would recommend, because I'm also selfishly at this point in my journey too, and I could use a little bit of support. And if I'm being honest, you know me, like I'm more of the creative, I'm more of the psychic, I'm more of the coach. When it comes to building the back end with masculine systems, I had a really big block for honestly the whole 4 years I've been an entrepreneur. And I'm working through that now and doing it myself. So I would love to pick your brain a little bit. Like, how'd you get into learning about automations? What do you use? Maybe a little bit on the overhead, etc.
So I use a lot of different things. So my favorite one is SMS marketing. So SMS marketing, when I say that, a lot of people think about, oh, like, you know, sending a text that like I'm doing a sale or something, which yes, it is that, but it's something like much more in depth that like truly goes over a lot of people's heads. So it could be like, you know, someone's shopping on your website, right? And like they added to cart, but they didn't finish checking out. Like it will text them 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, or, you know, however long to where you set up the automation. to still capture that sale. Same thing for like someone that hasn't ordered in 14 days or someone that hasn't ordered in 30 days. You can send them a text to capture that sale. Same thing as like it's someone's birthday coming up. You can send them a discount code on their birthday. You know, like there's just like so many different things and so many automations that I have scheduled when it comes to SMS marketing that really help drive money to my brand and my business. And then I also, email marketing is really important. So I just recently started kind of diving into email marketing because I don't know, for a long time, I was just so focused on SMS marketing. And I was like, oh, like every time I send an email, like it doesn't really do that well. Like, you know, why I don't really care. Like SMS is working fine. Like, you know, whatever. So once I started to really like sit down, which was maybe a few months ago, I started to sit down and really try to figure out email marketing and figure out how to personalize it, how to make sure my branding is on point, how to make sure I'm speaking to these people to how they want to be spoken to, because it's different than SMS marketing. SMS marketing, it should be something quick, simple, to the point. It shouldn't be too long. Email marketing is different. It is something that's a little bit longer, right? So I feel like once I kind of figured out, okay, this is different. I need to have a different message, or maybe just a longer version of what's in the text, and, you know, add my banners inside, add some reviews, add screenshots that people have sent me, and have it into this like huge newsletter. Then they started doing really well. And that's when I started seeing more of a return on my email marketing versus before. Like it was so dry. I didn't get any like clicks, nothing, a ton of unsubscribers all the time. And so I feel like just focusing in on like, okay, who am I serving? How can I do this? What are the different pictures that I need in here? The different reviews, all those different things I feel like really helped. Some other automations that I have too are like on Instagram. So that's with mini chat. Mini chat is really good for just responding to like every comment, your DMs. I know sometimes there can be like issues with mini chat, and like, you know, let's say someone comments like a random word and like it'll respond to them if that certain word like falls in line with another automation that you have scheduled. So I would just be careful on like the automation triggers. But other than that, you can use it for your lives. Like you go on live a lot. Whenever I used to go on live, I used to always make really great money from having a mini chat automation scheduled. Yeah. So like basically anyone that would like comment on my live, I would like send them a DM. Well, the automation would send them a DM and say like, hey, like, thanks so much for watching my live. You know, like here's the discount code. It's one time, it ends when the live's over. Okay. XYZ, you know, and like instantly it would just drive up sales. So mini chat's really good for that. As far as like the overhead, I don't honestly, I think mini chat is like $99, maybe like $79. My SMS marketing app and my email marketing app, they're together. It's called Yotpo. It's through Shopify, but yes, it's through Shopify. My plan is really expensive because I have both, so it's $199, but they have cheaper plans. Like I think they have one that's like $29. They might even have one that's like free. They have one that's in the middle, like $79. So it really just depends on like what you need, and then you can click whatever plan you need. But those are all really great for having your automation scheduled. And also through Yotpo, you can have like pop-ups. You can have like landing pages so that like whenever you're directing someone to like your free masterclass or your free ebook or whatever, you're collecting their contact information so that you're just not like giving information for free. You can at least get the contact information to nurture them into a sale later. So those are some things that I feel like really helped me with creating. I know you talk about it all the time in like your previous podcast episodes, but just having like more masculine energy in your business, having that part done for you so that you're not having to like constantly worry about it. That's what really helped me.
Yeah. And then you can just be in the flow, and then you have more time, and then you have more energy, right? And then you can like be in your feminine a little bit more. And that's what I'm really working on. And what I will say is, yes, it's like entrepreneurship is an investment, you know? So it's going to be an investment upfront of time, money, energy, patience, whatever it is, but it's necessary for the next levels of your business, right? Like I can't believe that I have just been Like the first couple of years, I was just like flowing. People were coming. I was just flowing. Literally, I was doing everything on the back end. Like I was setting up all the appointments, and people were just easily attracted to me because I was, you know, I'm in authenticity with my path. But it was this support is going to bring in and is bringing in so many more clients and so much more organization so that I have more flexibility. So it's definitely an investment up front, but it's absolutely worth it. I'm curious if there's anything else that you want to, any topic you want to discuss or anything. But if not, I would love for you to share what you're the most excited about in your business right now, like what you want to share with the audience.
Okay, so I will kind of piggyback off when I said, like, I don't think so. So I think what I do want to share is if there are like any entrepreneurs on here that I thought about this after, but if there are any like entrepreneurs on here that like struggle with scheduling their automations or struggle with like getting into marketing and like branding and like making sure like you're attracting your target audience on social media, definitely like follow me on Instagram at Dallas/God and just shoot me a DM that like you're on the podcast and like I can get with you and kind of try to talk with you like on whatever problems you're experiencing. And then what I would like to share is maybe like, I'm proud of you. Like whoever is watching, like I'm proud of you. And, you know, you're here and you're trying to better yourself and that's enough. And all you need to do is just like keep focusing on like whatever it is that you're trying to get. Like, even if it seems so far-fetched, think of who it is that owns that, whatever you like you're wanting or whatever you're trying to embody. Think of who that person is and start to like embody the characteristics of that person. And naturally you will gravitate towards whatever it is that you need. And I think that will resonate with someone, at least one person that's going to be listening, and hopefully they're able to stay focused and chase their dreams because it's a wild ride.
It absolutely is. Yeah, that is perfect because one of my last questions is usually like, if you could broadcast something to the entire world so that they could hear it, what would it be? But I feel like you just answered that question. So
yeah, just chase your dreams, keep going.
Yes. And it doesn't matter where you're starting. Like, I'm sure there's people listening to this right now and maybe they're living in their parents' basement, or like, you know, they just went through a crazy breakup like myself, or like whatever, you know, you might feel like you're starting from scratch, but the really beautiful thing is like you have nowhere to go besides up. And if you keep, like you said, if you keep that vision in your mind of not where you're at now, this is the art of detachment, like detach from your current physical reality and only focus on what's in your mind so that you're not constantly telling yourself like, oh, but it's not here yet. It's not here yet. It's not here yet. Be so delusional, stay with the vision, work towards it, and it has no option but to come into fruition. Because once you're this optimistic and once you're this determined, the universe is working in your favor. The universe is working with you in whatever energy you're bringing to the table. So definitely chase the dreams, go after it. It's all possible. You are a representation of it. And you're how many years young? 26. Yeah, exactly. And you started killing it like years ago too. So that just goes to show.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Your handle is Dallas/God. Is there any other links or handles that you want to provide?
So my links are in my bio, to be honest. They're pretty easy to navigate through. So if you can just find me on social media, you'll literally have everything you need. And then, like I said, if anyone has any questions, you can just shoot me a message on Instagram, and I'll be looking out for them once this episode drops. So
perfect.
In case you need any help.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Remember, be sure to like, share, subscribe, send this video, send this audio to somebody that needs it, that it will help, and follow us.